seen it.
It's time for Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt. Todd Marquardt, attorney at law in Texas. If you're a millionaire or a thousandaire, Talk Law Radio is now on the air. Call in with your business law question, your elder law question, veteran aid, Medicaid, build a business to get paid. 210-308-8867. Or ask a question online at marquardtlawfirm.com. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com. And now it's Talk Law Radio with Todd Marquardt.
Welcome to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt on the radio, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Today we're going to be talking about year-end tax planning, and we're going to be talking about a little bit of immigration. I wasn't really prepared that those two topics would come together, but you're in for a treat. Before we get to that, let's have a prayer. Since it's Thanksgiving, I have a Thanksgiving prayer. It's adapted from a speech that Abraham Lincoln gave. Dear God, we pray for and with our fellow citizens in every part of the United States, and also those who are at sea and those who are sojourning in foreign lands. Thanksgiving and praise to our to our Father who dwelleth in the heavens. We offer up ascriptions justly due to you for such singular deliverances and blessings, with humble penitence for our national perverseness and disobedience. We commend to your tender care all those who have become widows, orphans, mourners, or sufferers in the lamentable civil strife in which we are unavoidably engaged, and fervently implore the interposition of your almighty hand to heal the wounds of the nation and to restore it as soon as may be consistent with your divine purposes to the full enjoyment of peace, harmony, tranquility, and union. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
Wasn't that a great prayer? There's just one word that I just didn't know how to say. But it's from Abraham Lincoln, so cool. Everybody loves Lincoln. You'd get canceled if you said anything bad about him, right?
Yeah, I wonder what it was like at the time, if there was universal agreement that...
Well, you're probably right, no.
Yeah. Everybody well, it's just like now. Everybody has their own opinions and wants to go their own way, so...
I can't believe I just said something so dumb. I mean, somebody shot him. So, yeah. Obviously there was
somebody had a little bit of a disagreement.
Yeah.
Maybe I got every dumb thing I'm going to say out of the way. Like, that was it.
Right. Well, I didn't think it was dumb at the time. I just thought you were being sarcastic.
Oh, yeah. I meant that. I meant to do that.
Okay. Well, the first segment, we like to talk about our guest. Adam Tostado is a tax preparer here in San Antonio, Texas, and he's going to talk to us about year-end tax planning. Because it's near the end of the year, you have a little bit of time left. Maybe there's something that you can do to reduce your tax liability legally, ethically, all above board with somebody who knows the rules. And that's the thing about taxes is there's the tax code, there's tax court cases, there's tax regulations. And Adam has been on the phone with IRS agents, and so he knows what it's like, how scary it can be probably to face an IRS agent. I'm sure it's kind of like people think of you as Neo, right?
Yeah, very true. Yeah. I was just at the IRS office this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And my client's like sweating bullets and, oh my God, they're going to put me in jail and stuff. And times have changed. We got a very nice lady, and she was very patient, and she talked to us, but it took 4 months to get that appointment.
Wow.
So.
Well, tell us a little bit about your education and experience and background, whatever you tell your clients.
Yeah, well, I'm originally from Chicago, and so I migrated here in 2004. I used to work for the Soccer Federation, and moved over here and started working for, back in 2004, I started working for an accounting firm. And so worked my way up and started, my background is in accounting, and he said, hey, I need you to help my tax preparers out. And so I was helping them out, and I was like, oh, wow, I kind of found a knack for it, and I kind of liked it. And it's very rare that you find somebody who likes taxes. But I do. I love it. And it's just a strategy, and it's a big old puzzle, and you just put it together, and everybody's different. So been doing that for the last, 20 years, and have a business now, my own business, and ATC Tax. And
if
we're
somebody wants to contact you, should they email you, go on your website, or call some number?
They can go on the website, which is atostado.com. Or they can call the office. I'm rarely available for phone conversations, but the office can definitely take care of you, schedule. Every call for me, it's by appointment. So they can schedule it, and just if you have some questions, you can ask the office, and then they could get it to me, or you can schedule an appointment and make a list of all your questions, and then we'll go over it. The thing that makes me different from everybody else is that we don't charge for that. And people are like, well, you're dumb. You should charge. You can make so much money. But it's not about the money. It's about getting the education out there so that people can better strategize, have a better, if they have a better, it's weird to say, but if they have a better tax return, they sleep better and they don't have to worry so much.
Right. Peace.
Yeah. And so, everybody's always worried, is the IRS going to come after me? Did I do something wrong and they're going to put me in jail? And the IRS has done a very good job to put the fear in people about
Well,
the
this
IRS.
isn't that much different than the Old Testament, right, Shannon? I mean, the tax collectors back then, they were just as feared and despised.
Yeah, it goes all the way back.
Yeah.
Wow.
And so, my strategy, just like, what is it? Jesus who said, pay to Caesar what is owed to Caesar. And
That's my line, Adam.
And so this is what I do, but it doesn't mean that you don't have control over how much you pay, and so that's what I give you, is that control. The strategy is to say, hey, everybody has to pay their fair share. But it's how much is that fair share?
Right.
And if we educate people to see how the realistic stuff, that, okay, I have to pay 5%, I have to pay 6%, then it makes better sense than just blindly say, well, this is what the form said, so I'm going to send this much money, but I don't know why. And so we don't tell people, oh, you have to learn taxes or you have to know what's on your forms, but you have to know why it's happening to you. And so when you know why it's happening to you and the reason for paying, some people don't have to pay anything. Some people have to pay a lot. And I have a lot of people. One person, they pay $50,000, $60,000. And I was scared when I told them they owed $50,000, $60,000. And they wanted to kiss me because it's like, that's it? Oh, my God, And I'm, okay, And so we always have our fear inside. And we're like, oh, my God, is this too much? But when we present it to them and then they show us what they paid last year and how big difference it is, but just because of the strategy.
Yeah.
Because what buckets you got to put money into, what buckets you shouldn't put money into, then it just becomes easy. And if you do it for often enough, then it becomes natural. But if you don't know what buckets are out there, you don't know what strategies you have to do, then all you're doing is doing things out of fear.
Yeah.
And we want to get rid of that.
I told you Adam and I used to do seminars together, and he would tell people it's Tostado, like the chip.
Yeah.
His name, Adam Tostado. And so when he started his own company and you named it A Tostado, I was thinking, okay, just one chip then, right? And then yesterday I was looking at your website and I thought, no, A stands for Adam.
Yeah. But I did that
yesterday.
Yeah, but I did that to give that, a tostado or Adam Tostado. And I said, no, I like the because it puts some twist to
That's that Chicago.
And I'm talking to the chip,
Right.
and everybody tells me, they're like, Tostado like the chip? And so I just use that now. Yes, it's Adam Tostado like the chip. And they're like, oh.
But in New Mexico, weren't tostados the things that we call chalupas now?
Yes,
here?
a tostada.
It's very...
You
Tostada?
put an A behind it, and it's a flat chip, you know?
Oh, okay.
But
Well,
and so you got to be careful also, because I recently learned that tostado in Mexico means burnt, like burnt toast.
Okay.
You know, but to Puerto Ricans, which I'm Mexican and Puerto Rican, and so to Puerto Ricans, tostado means you're crazy. So I'm a crazy burnt toast, you know?
Oh, wow.
So when I talk to a Puerto Rican, I say tostado, they back up and they're like, oh,
Yeah.
wait a minute.
You're a little bit toasted.
Yeah.
You say, no, that's my name, not
Yeah.
my disposition.
Yeah.
Do you know where it came from?
Mexico, Durango, Mexico. So
Are there more tostados out there?
there is
Like a basket?
Well, I never knew tostado. Like in Chicago, I think I was the only one, and my cousins were the only ones. And so when I moved to Texas, then I realized that there's a ton of tostados like Rodriguez in California. And so when I put on Facebook, I'm living in Texas now. And then all of a sudden, like, I had cousins I didn't know, but everybody's like up and down 35 all the way up to Dallas.
Oh, wow.
And so I was like, oh. And I had gone to a seminar, a tech seminar in Dallas at the Gaylord. And so there was a vendor there. And so, and the lady, she had a tag, and her last name was Tostado. And I was like,
What are the chances?
and so I was like, and she's like, I'm like, are you from, where are you from? And she's like, no, I'm from Dallas, And then I was like, oh, there's no way, because I'm from Chicago. And it was just me and my mom growing up. I never met my dad or anything like that. And so one day we're on Facebook and we're texting, chatting, and her dad looks at the chat, and she says, what are you doing? He goes, oh, I'm talking to my friend Adam Tostado. And he goes, and he looks at my picture, and he's like, ask him if his mom is so-and-so. And so she asked me, and I said, yeah, ask him if this and that. And so she's like, how do you know? And she's like, tell him I'm his dad.
Oh, my goodness.
And
I was not ready for that.
I was like,
I was not
what?
ready. I was like, we're on
Yeah. So
third cousin.
I found my dad.
That's amazing.
In Fort Worth. And so we got together, and I said, okay, let's meet and this and that. And at first I thought, well, I'm going to be mad. I'm going to be angry. And I'm like, why'd you leave? And this and that. And no, it was just like, oh my God.
Y'all clicked.
We clicked.
Does he look like you?
Yes. And finding out that his brother, and which is weird, is I looked exactly like his brother. And so we have this dimple that the firstborns all have. And so I have that because he has a son, he has 5 kids. And so his son was like, he never had, none of the kids have the dimple.
Just the firstborn.
And so,
will,
And so when I showed up and I didn't have the goatee, and so they saw, and they're like, and that's the first thing they said, you have the dimple.
Wow.
And I was like,
what a great feeling.
That's verification that
Did he cry? Was he crying?
Yeah, we both cried, because we found each other and stuff. And
I'm so happy for you.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for
thank
sharing
you for
that.
sharing that.
So it was good.
Inspirational.
It was good. But yeah.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
New to San Antonio? If you move from out of state, your estate plan may not be aligned with Texas laws. Did you know 41 states treat property ownership differently than Texas? Protect your assets and loved ones. As a newcomer to Texas, it's essential to review your estate plan with an experienced attorney. Marquardt Law Firm is here to help. Chat with us online at marquardtlawfirm.com to schedule a consultation. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. On the radio, on podcasts everywhere, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com.
And now on Instagram.
Yes, Shannon Roberta San Antonio is streaming. And so if you're interested in knowing the Mr. Rogers of San Antonio, just go search for Shannon Roberta San Antonio, and you'll see how she brings the community back together. We're going to be doing something special this holiday season. We're not yet ready to talk about it yet, But stay tuned, follow us, and we'll be sharing an announcement soon. But first, that's what they always say on Big Brother.
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about year-end tax planning with Adam Tostado. He runs and operates and owns a Tostado corporation, and he's a tax preparer, and he will ask you so many questions because he's searching for ways to help you save money on federal income taxes, legally, ethically, above board. And so we're going to talk about some things that might apply to you, they might not. But don't take our word for it. This isn't advice. We don't want you to change your position without talking to somebody face-to-face about your unique financial situation. Adam, you review old returns. You ask a lot of questions. What's the process like for you to take on a
Well,
new...
when somebody comes in, it's not a Q&A. It's a conversation, and so we're like, oh, how's the family? How's the kids? And everything else. And the reason that we do it in that method is because, one, it kind of relaxes the person because you're just not in an interview. You're just having a conversation. And what I'm trying to get out of it is because a lot of people, they think they know what to tell you. And when we have a conversation, they're not thinking. We're just talking. And so when I say, when they tell me, oh, yeah, grandma just moved into the house the other day. And I'm like, okay, grandma moved in. And one of the kids is going to college and the other one is in preschool and this and that. And so what I get out of it is that when I start asking them questions, I'm like, okay, does grandma file a tax return? Is she your dependent? Do you have to pay for medical bills? Stuff like that, because that can affect your personal tax return.
Right.
And so with the preschooler, do you have a 529 plan? Do you have an education something? Because now with the 529 plan, you could use it all the way from preschool to college. So, how do you maximize your expenses and be able to have tax benefits? And so, how can the 529 benefit me? Well, if you do it out of your paycheck, your W-2 paycheck, that's a tax-free deduction from your gross pay. So that means you're paying less taxes, but it's going to an education fund that child could still use it today for preschool. And so when grandma is in the house and you have to remodel the house so you could have bigger doors for her wheelchair or put a medical bed or even buy prescriptions for her, then you could put that in your itemized deductions. And I said, well, there's a little caveat with that, because if you do, you have to have more than a certain amount to be able to have it deductible.
Yeah, there's lots of fine print.
Yeah, so you have to look at the whole big picture. So, but those are the things that, nobody thinks about. My kid is going to school and I have to pay for it. That's all they know. But
Shannon, you had a question.
Oh, yeah. Should I?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Well, I kind of wanted to know, it feels like a dumb question. I don't want to ask my question
There is
anymore.
no. And understand this.
I know what you're going to say, but there are dumb questions.
I get this a lot. People say, oh my God, it's a dumb question, so I'm not going to ask you. The only dumb question that is dumb is the one you don't ask.
So ask away.
So ask away, and we'll go from there.
I'm blessed that I'm kind of around a lot of smart people. I don't feel smart, but I'm surrounded by smart people. And a lot of times they think they can do their own taxes. Help me make the case. And my position is, if you're a tax guy, you devoted your life to learning about taxes.
Yeah.
There's no way that's a bad decision to put that in the hands of an expert as opposed to doing it. You might be the smartest person in your thing. And so help me make the case. Well,
and this leads me into what to look for in a tax preparer first, okay? Because I tell people, talk to a tax professional.
It's not just any tax preparer.
Yeah, you can't go,
right.
So if you go to H&R Block or you go to Jackson Hewitt, most of them are end-of-year people. They're just there to do tax season and that's it. And so when you find the long-term people, you want to find somebody who's in business the whole year. There's just not tax season.
Oh, okay.
And so, and then when you're interview tax people, because tax people think, I just got to see you once a year and I'm done and I'll see you next year. No, see them 2-3 times a year, because if you make more money, hey, how is this going to affect my taxes? Have I paid in enough? Have I not paid in enough? Where can I put money away into retirement and have a deduction?
Have I borrowed money? Have I lent money?
Yeah, and so you only get that by asking the questions, okay? And so when you find, and I usually have like 5 stipulations when I look for a preparer. And so, but when you say, should I go to a professional? First, go to any professional just to get advice. They don't have to do your tax return. Okay, and so just to get advice to see if I'm on the right road. If you're starting a new business, if you're starting a new job, if I'm getting married, my kids are going to college, my kids are going to preschool. You want to know, how does this affect my taxes? And people don't see that all of that affects your taxes. So you always want to know if you're doing the right thing, and only a tax professional can tell you that. The other reason is, if you do your taxes and you make a mistake, okay, the IRS is going to come after you, okay? But if you have a professional do your taxes, the professional is responsible for your taxes, because he or she is going to sign your tax returns with you. If you go to a professional, look at the bottom of page 2, and it has your name, your husband's name, and then the preparer's name with all 3 signatures. So the IRS is going to go, and so when the IRS asks you, okay, we have a mistake on this part, or we have a concern with this, then you're going to say, okay, can we contact my preparer? And then he's going to be able to translate that in plain English for you,
right?
But in
English,
tax jargon to the IRS.
But that's what you want. Not everybody will do that. Adam will do that.
Yeah.
Right. So as part of the interview process.
That's what you're going to be asking for. Do you represent me if IRS has any questions? Do you defend your own tax returns?
Mm-hmm. I think you answered my other question also, because in immigration, I would always be asking people to go, please get an ITIN, because if you're working, you've got to report it. And people were scared, but it's really to an immigrant's benefit to report.
So,
it.
Let me just explain to the audience why Shannon is an expert in this. Remember, Shannon is an immigration attorney.
Oh.
And so
okay.
We talk a lot about immigration, and now this is where it gets really exciting. And Shannon and Adam really click because they both help immigrants in some way.
And so I'm not going to say expert, though. I'm going to push back on that.
Okay.
And so you have to realize that an ITIN number is not the right to work. Okay?
No, of course not.
It doesn't give you the right to work, but it gives you the right to report income, which is kind of odd. You know, how am I going to get income if I'm not working for it?
Right.
But the IRS doesn't care about that. They said, that's Department of Labor. This is us. And so what the ITIN does is you report your income, you pay the taxes, because on your personal history, that's going to look better when you're filing for citizenship or residency. You know, because they're going to look at it and say, I've been an upstanding citizen. I've been paying my taxes. I've been acting and looking like a regular citizen. Now I just want the right to be a citizen. And so they have more favor with the government immigration. When you see that and you're being an upstanding citizen, they're like, no, let's give them the right to do that fully.
I'm tracking with you, and sometimes some of the immigration benefits that you could qualify for as an undocumented person require you to prove that you've been here a certain period of time.
Right.
What better way to do that than to be honest?
Exactly, because now you have a federal document that says, I've been in this country since this point in time. So when the immigration says, hey, you have to be here 5 years, prove to me that you've been here 5 years. Not only am I going to prove to you that I've been here 5 years, but I've been doing things the right way for 5 years.
Right.
Even though I don't have the rights or permissions to be here, but I acted and felt like I'm a citizen and I've done everything that a citizen does.
I've heard many times that they would go to tax professionals and they couldn't get an ITIN. How do you say it correctly?
An ITIN number.
ITIN?
Yeah. So anybody can. You file a W-7. It's a one-page form. You send it in, and 6 weeks later, you'll get not a Social Security number, but you'll get an identification number that looks just like a Social Security number.
Right.
You have to remember that, and they have to remember they cannot use that as a Social Security number. So they can't go and say, apply for a job and say, here's my number.
I'm sure it says right on there, not valid.
Yeah. It'll say not valid for employment, but sometimes, and I've seen some that don't say
well,
that.
you know, on my Social Security card on the back, it says this is not an identification number.
Yeah.
Well, that's a lie.
Yeah.
We should clarify we're not advocating for anyone to be here without legal permission.
Right. No. But if you're here and you want to do things right, this is the path you should be taking.
Report your income.
Right. Report your income.
So why is it that some tax preparers and CPAs don't want to do that?
Well, they don't want the hassle that if the IRS questions it, a lot of preparers, they'll do the tax return and say, okay, tell me what you want to put on the forms. How do I know? You know, okay, here's my W-2, here's my income, here's my expenses. And they'll literally say, okay, we're going to put this here and we're going to put it on the right lines. I don't do that. I say, tell me why this is income. Tell me where'd you do it? What are your expenses? And if they didn't give me enough, I know because I've done so many tax returns what they're missing. And I'm like, well, where's your cell phone? Where's your internet? Where's this? And they're like, oh, nobody ever asked me that. Because the reason that a lot of preparers don't ask that is because they don't want to get questions from the IRS. So because if the IRS questions you, then they're going to say, well, no, we don't deal with that. You know, we just do tax returns. We don't deal for audits or conversations with the IRS. And then they're like, well, what do I do? Well, you got to find somebody who does that for you. And so now they're going to go to a CPA or to a taxpayer advocate or an EN. Enrolled agent, and they're going to pay 4 or 5 times more money because they're specifically for those purposes. Because there's a field for that. And when they come to me, I'm like, I did your tax return, I can defend it. Let me call the IRS, and usually it's 15 minutes, and then I'm done. Today, I went to the IRS and we said, hey, why is this, and this? And we ended up getting $6,000 more on the refund than when we filed because we're there talking to them, and the client was a military professional, and so he was overseas. So IRS says, oh, you're exempt, so never mind. Here you go, and here's your money back.
We got to take another break, Adam. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. I'm Todd Marquardt, on the radio, on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on talklawradio.com, on Instagram with Shannon Roberta San Antonio and Adam Tostado, who has the tax business. He's talking to us about year-end tax planning, and we're going to talk more specific about some boring things, but I'm sure that he'll make it not boring.
But then we get to talk about your tie, right? At some point.
Yeah, my Thanksgiving tie and my November mustache.
Yeah.
Which just gets better and better, I think, every day. Yeah, it's my Ron Burgundy. I'm kind of a big deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, Adam, let's pretend that somebody is starting a business or they already have a business and they're making money now. And so they're worried about bookkeeping, payroll, and tax. Yeah. How can you help them?
Backing it up a little bit, when somebody has a dream or an idea about having a business, that's when I would like to get them. Is because a lot of people now are coming to me and they're like, I think I could do this. And what I do is I run them through their paces. If somebody says, I'm going to open up a restaurant. Okay, who likes your food? Well, my family likes your food. No. Why don't you cook for 6 strangers and see if they like their food?
Yeah.
And then they find out that no, they don't cook that well.
Yeah.
And so you want to find out, is this business good for them? You know?
Yeah.
And find that out. Once we find out that there's a business that fits the person and they can probably make it, then we say, okay, what do you think you need? You know, do you need bookkeeping? No. Because nowadays the banks, if you pick a bank, not a credit union, but if you pick a bank, the banks have these features where you can download your transactions, so you could download it every month or every year. And so the necessity for having a bookkeeper really doesn't get needed very much. The only reason you really need a bookkeeper is so if you need financial statements, like if you want to buy a house or you want to purchase something, buy cars, or want to see as a whole what your business is doing, then yes, you need a bookkeeper to put all those numbers together and get a financial statement and get some strategy in there. But if you're just starting out, you got to save your money. You got to figure out,
right.
what you're doing. So you don't want to jump into that cost.
You're not Bill Gates.
Exactly. So you want to start it out. And so do I need payroll? Well, that's depending on what you're doing. If we're starting out and we're a sole proprietorship, which means that it's your personal tax return has your business inside of your tax return, first of all, you can't take a paycheck because the owner cannot take a paycheck out of it. But if you have set up an LLC and you do a corporate tax return with a personal tax return, then in the corporate tax return, you could take a paycheck. Actually, it's a requirement for you to take a paycheck. But then people tell me, well, how much of a paycheck? Well, the IRS doesn't specify. They just say you have to take a paycheck. And it has to be greater than $1, Is $1,000? Is $100,000? We don't know. But what I usually do is I say, okay, what's your personal budget? Not your business expenses, but your personal. What are your groceries? What's your home rent or mortgage, property taxes? Your personal expenses. You add all that up every month, and then that becomes your paycheck. Okay, so now you know how much you need to take out of the business as a paycheck. Why that? Why not just dive into the business and just pull the money out and pay it? Well, if you take a distribution from your company, it's not deductible. So if I made $30,000 and I took $10,000 out just as a distribution, you still have $30,000 profit in your business, and you got to pay taxes based on $30,000. But if you take a paycheck of $10,000 out of the business, now your profit is $20,000. And the $10,000 is on a W-2 and you file both of those. So there's a strategy for that. And so you say, well, I want to do a Roth IRA or an IRA and stuff like that. Well, if you do it through your paycheck, it's a deduction that's not taxable. So we took out more money, not paid taxes, and we're in a better situation. So the need for, payroll depends on how much money you're coming in and how much is going out, and then we go from there. But the idea of starting a business, yes. Should I set up an LLC? I would recommend that because as your business grows, you don't want to stumble and say, oh, I got to set up an LLC because I've never done that before. Right. Because if you leave things without an LLC, then it defaults to a sole proprietorship, which means that if you have any profit in your business, your tax rate starts at 30.9%. Who wants to pay 30.9% of anything? Yeah. So no, we don't want to do that. When we do a corporate tax return, the same income in the same business, you end up paying 15% starting, and it goes up from there. But now you're saving that 15.9 of self-employment tax. You're saving that. And the reason that you save that is because you're now taking a paycheck out of your business. So the IRS says, well, you're paying income taxes, Social Security, and Medicare. Mm-hmm. So now we're not going to charge you the Social Security, the self-employment tax. Wow. So there's a strategy for all of that.
And a rationale, sounds like, too.
Yeah. And so when I explain that to people, they're like, oh, this is too much. I'm like, no, let's take things 3 steps at a time. Yeah. So when we do 3 things at a time, then we're done with that. We got it. Then we do the next steps. And then we go from there.
You sound like a coach also, a counselor and a coach.
How do you have time to do all that?
You're talking to clients all day long, you know, but I like it. I like to see my clients. And my clients, when they come to me, it's not like I'm going to a CPA office or it's not cold. They come in, they help themselves to the fridge, they make themselves the coffee. We sit down, we have a conversation.
You still let them bring their dog?
You bring your animals. We have treats for your animals. And so when they come in, it's a very relaxed environment. And we just have a conversation. And then it's about strategy. Like right now, we're doing end-of-year strategies. So people are so freaked out. Oh, my God, I made so much money in this and stuff like that. Okay, what do we need to do? And so when we're doing these strategies, we're figuring out, We know how much money you made. We know what your basic expenses are. If you have some profit in there that you need to wash because, oh my God, I don't want to pay a lot of taxes, then what do you need? So when
Can I hire my kids?
Can we hire no, that's a valid question. Can I hire my kids? Do I go buy a vehicle? Do I go buy something else? And so I tell them according to what they're looking for. If they want to buy a house, guess what? The house is not deductible, So, and if we buy a rental house, the depreciation is very small. So, maybe not. Do I want to hire my kids? Maybe. So instead of giving the kids an allowance that is after taxes and we just throw away the money, that we hire the kids, they do something in the business to help us wash the car, file forms, do whatever it is.
My kids were directors of document destruction.
There you go. And so when we hire them, we now give them a W-2 paycheck. If they make less than $15,000 a year, there's no taxes due. So we don't have them pay taxes on their W-2. All they pay is Social Security and Medicare, and that's small. But now their income that they're making now is a deduction to the business. We now teach them how to do financial planning.
Right.
When you have money and you're going to find out that your kids will turn on you. Okay? So when your kids turn on you, you're like, what happens? Well, the kids
Won't
always
they turn on you anyway, even if you don't have money?
because now the kids are like, okay, well, I need a baseball bat and some gloves for baseball. And they're like, well, you make a paycheck, you have money in the bank account, go buy it. Right. They're like, well, no, we don't want to use our money. We want to use your money.
What do you do? Have you ever had a client want to do something really unethical and you had to talk them down?
I just tell them they're not my client anymore.
Yeah.
You know, because I don't want to go down that rabbit hole, because if they ask that question, then I know that they're going to go out and do it anyway.
Oh, good point.
Oh, yeah.
They're going to go do it anyway. And so at the end of the year or every month when they're giving me the information, there's a tweak in there that I'm not realizing.
Right.
And then I've had that happen once where the client got audited. We went to the office and we're meeting with the agent, and we're in front of the agent, and the client whispers in my ear, and he's like, I kind of made up the numbers. And then I was like, okay.
What an awful time to,
and so because he knows that in that aspect, he can't get out of it.
Right.
And so when...
Have you ever had somebody testify?
Oh, of course. Yes. Like, why am I hearing about this? That you're up there
time
on the witness stand.
Yeah, and so
you could have told me at any point.
Yeah, and so I kept my cool, and I was like, okay. I asked the auditor, can you give us 90 days to get the right information, this and that? Auditor said yes. We were like, okay.
They know you, that you already have.
Yeah,
they know
so they said yes. We're leaving the office, and then I said, good luck. Find another tax return. You have 90 days.
Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, I want you. No.
How do you say that in Chicagoese?
See ya. See ya.
I'm gonna go get a slice.
Yeah, I'm gonna go, because if they lied to me once and they were unethical in that, what's to say that the information that I'm going to get is the same, that they made it up, they drew it up, whatever it is. Right. And I'm just not going to deal with that, because when you're dealing with the IRS, your reputation as a professional is at risk. Yeah. So when they see you and they see that, oh, he dealt with these 5 people and these were all liars and they all cheaters and stuff like that, you don't want to attach yourself to that. And so we're very careful about how we're taking people. And you know what? If he would have told me early on before the audit, listen, I made up the numbers and I don't know what to do. And then I said, okay, let's fix this now. Let's file an amended tax return. Right. Let's fix this. Let's see
clean.
And let's figure it out. Everything can be fixed. Mm-hmm. But when you don't know that it's broken, how do you know to fix it?
Yeah.
And so, when you want to be honest with it, then they're picking the most inopportune moment to say it.
So don't make a Tostado angry.
No, you'll be on your own.
We got to take a break. We'll be right back.
New to San Antonio? If you move from out of state, your estate plan may not be aligned with Texas laws. Did you know 41 states treat property ownership differently than Texas? Protect your assets and loved ones. As a newcomer to Texas, it's essential to review your estate plan with an experienced attorney. Marquardt Law Firm is here to help. Chat with us online at marquardtlawfirm.com to schedule a consultation. That's MARQUARDT lawfirm.com.
Welcome back to Talk Law Radio. On the radio, on podcasts everywhere, on Facebook, on YouTube, and on talklawradio.com. Here talking about year-end tax planning with Lexi Law Dog, Adam Tostado, and Shannon Roberta San Antonio. Oh, how precious. Adam's dogs are what breed again?
Shih Tzu poodles.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Lexi is looking forward to a beauty day. She's looking a bit shaggy, just like me, I guess. Maybe it's no shave for her, too.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to talk about some other year-end strategies. Tell us, Adam, get on your soapbox. Tell us, what do people really need to know?
Well, there's if people have IRAs, and so IRAs are great if you're saving some money on your personal W-2, you have it go into an IRA. But IRAs, they kind of lost their fame because back in the day, in the 70s, 80s, 90s, if you put in money into an IRA, you saved 5%, and when it came out, you're owing 5%. Now, you'll save 5%. That did not change, or 5 or 10%. You're saving that, but when it comes out, you're owing 20%. And so it doesn't quite work out very well. And so I have a lot of people where we're like, okay, let's start converting IRAs to a Roth IRA. You'll pay the taxes, but the money's going to go into a Roth IRA, so you'll earn the money back in the interest over time, and so you'll be made whole again, and then it just keeps going. So people will say
it grows tax-free.
Yeah,
right?
but also the difference between the IRA and the Roth IRA is that once it goes into the Roth IRA, you can pull it out tax-free. So we're good. So
after you retire.
If you're of retirement age or over, you can pull it out with no problem. And so that's great. But how much can we roll over? Those questions, I usually work with financial planners, and we look at their tax return, because you can't give them a solid number because it depends how much income they made on their 1040. So if you have somebody making $100,000 and they paid the taxes based on $100,000, but now you convert $100,000, now your income is $200,000, and they didn't pay the taxes. So now you're going to hurt because you have to pay extra taxes, and they're going to be like, well, Adam, you told me to convert this.
Yeah.
Well, the conversion is great, but for tax purposes, it's not so great, So we always want to see how much have we paid in taxes, how much your revenue is, and then take that and say, okay, this is how much you can convert, and your refund will go down to zero, but you won't owe anything. Oh, okay. And that's something that you work with your financial planner and with the tax preparer. You put them together, and they work out the numbers. Okay, so but it's a delicate balance between W-2s, and it's just not one person's W-2. You have to count the W-2 that's the taxpayer makes and their spouse. Put those together, see what tax bracket you're in, and then see how much you're willing to go before you get to the next tax bracket. And so that leads me into people jumping into the next tax bracket. That's when you consult with the tax professional, because then you could say, what's my tax bracket now? Okay, we'll say it's 18%. Then what's my next tax bracket, and how much can I make more before I touch that tax bracket? So sometimes it's $30,000, $40,000. Sometimes it could be $100,000. But there's a break in that tax bracket that I'm not sure what the number is, but it goes from 20% to 26%. Every other tax bracket is an increment of 2 or 3.
Oh, wow.
But this one is the biggest one, and that's the middle class. So, okay, I made this much money, but if I make $100 more, I jump into the next tax bracket. And so they're like, well, wait a minute, Adam, you told me it was okay, but no, we have to look at that too. And that's why
everybody's going to be different. So you need to talk to somebody face to face, and so they know your individual situation.
Yeah, because you can, and the thing is that my problem is that you can Google all of this stuff, okay? And so why do I need you if I can Google this? But the problem with Google or the internet in general is how accurate is the information that you're getting, okay? So when you're looking at a website and you're getting tax information, you need to look at the meta of that website and see when was this last posted, because they won't tell you on the website that this was posted 5 years ago. Well, guess what? Are taxes the same from 5 years ago? No. And so the information that's posted, they might not even update it. And so now you're working with old information. You're going to make life-changing events with bad information. And then when you go do your tax return or you have a professional do it, you're like, well, wait a minute, I Googled this and it should have been okay, but you're looking at old data. So the best data to go look for is at the IRS website, irs.gov. Make sure it says gov. And so when you go to the IRS website, there's a search bar and you can Google whatever you want to Google, but it's going to be tax jargon. It's going to be in the tax rules. And so if you look at other websites, look at the date. When was this last published? And if it was published in the last 6 months, great, use it. But take that information and take that information that you found, take it to your tax preparer and say, does this apply to me? Okay? And most of the time I'll be like, it could if you do XXX. That's what the website won't tell you to do, because everybody has a different situation. You could have two people living right next to each other. They both have 2 kids. They're both married, but their tax situation will be different because one could have a spouse that has a business and the other one could have 2 spouses that are just with W-2 income. They're going to have different tax situations. They could have their kids at different age levels. So one is in preschool and the other one's in college. And the other 2 have them in elementary school. So you're going to have different strategies there. So you can't always take what the neighbor has and say, I'm going to apply it to me and it's going to work just like with the neighbor. No. Everybody is different. And the tax preparer is going to be able to tell you that and really give you an estimate. Like right now, in about 2-3 weeks, I'll have my software for 2025. And so when I have that software for the year of 2024, I can actually take all your numbers, preliminary, go into your bank account, your business bank account, download all your income, take your last paycheck stub, take your income, drop it in there, and I could tell you exactly what your tax return might be at the end in April and say you're going to get a refund or you're close to a refund or you're going to owe money. And so the best time is to take your last pay stub of the year, drop it into the software that the tax preparer already has, and then get a good idea of what it is. And I guarantee you, every single time when April comes around, they'll be like, remember I told you you're getting a refund? Here's your refund.
If Trump did changes, then
we'll know. We'll know
But
because
that
our
would
software
be-
will automatically be updated with those changes.
Oh.
And so you have to realize that if he did make changes, they usually can't be applied to 2024. They'll be applied in 2025. But this year in 2024, the IRS did make changes throughout the year. And those tax returns, the IRS will tell you, don't amend it, we'll fix it because we changed the rules on you. And so they'll modify the tax return.
Yeah.
Were you going to ask that?
Usually that doesn't happen, but lately it's a Western shootout with the IRS. It's like whatever they want to do, they're going to do. And it's up to us, the professionals, to know that. And our software will constantly be updated with the IRS and tell us what the changes are coming so that you can communicate to that client. But
what I did want to ask is, what do you think is going to happen with the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act that was passed in 2017? It's supposed to expire at the end of 2025. Now that President Trump got reelected, do you think that they're going to make that permanent?
I don't know. And I don't even want to speculate because when Biden got elected, he was very upfront with everybody and says, "I'm going to go back to the who was our president before Trump? Obama. I'm going to go back to the Obama days. I'm going to take the rules back to then, and we're going to, the Democratic method, and take us down there." And the country said, "Hell no, you won't." And Congress said that it's not a wise thing to do, and so he pretty much kept everything the way it is. And so,
probably going to see more.
You can have all your issues and stuff, but the one thing that when Trump was in office, the IRS really did concentrate on the middle class. And so I'm thinking that he's not going to change many things.
I'm glad you mentioned that because...
Does concentrate mean in a good way?
Yeah.
Oh, wow, that's good.
One of my listeners wanted me to talk about this. The top 50% of all taxpayers paid 97.7% of all federal individual income taxes, with the bottom 50% paying the remaining 2.3%. So there's a philosophy out there that even if somebody doesn't make much money, they should pay something.
Yeah. And so this is when people come to me, they're like, "Oh, I'm going to come to you, Adam, because you get everybody refunds. And I don't want that image. I make sure that everybody is fair, that you get what you're supposed to get, no more, no less, and we play within the rules, And so when we play within the rules, then we can relax a little bit. We know that we've done things correctly and stuff like that. And so all I can say is if you owe money, what we do is we say, okay, based on your income, this is the percentage of what you owe. And most of the time, those percentages are like 5%. Why do you have a problem paying 5%? If your goal is to pay 0, you're in the wrong office. You're not going to do that. We're going to pay what's fair to the government and what's fair to you. So we're not going to do that. And so
I would think the majority of people you deal with are just super grateful, that the number is right, no matter what it is, that that's
and
the
so
correct number.
we're gonna
like that guy that you said was so happy,
And so and then we're worried. We're like, "Oh God, you owe $50,000 or something like that." But
they're like, "Thank you."
Yeah, and so that's all we want to do. And every year we make it better, And then, oh wow, my business is taking care of my family. Oh, that's what it's supposed to do. Yeah. Why do you get into business? You don't get into business so you could get another job. You get into business so it could take care of you and it could take care of your family.
When I first started, I interrupted you.
Yeah, I was going to say thank you guys for joining me on Talk Law Radio. Hopefully we gave the listeners enough information to do some year-end tax planning.
We talked to
or maybe they know enough to go get more information from a qualified...
Seek a professional just to have a conversation.
To get some more detailed ideas based on your unique circumstances.
Correct.
Lexi says, thank you for joining us. She'd like to go for a walk now. Shannon, thank you as always.
Thank you.
I bet you didn't know we were going to talk about immigration. That was great.
Yeah.
So now you have somebody else that can help get the I-10.
Yeah, get the I-10 and strategize with those individuals.
Okay, we'll talk to you later.
Goodbye.